crazy how things work, isn't it, reflection? So let's keep going. It says, empires that have come to ruin by overreaching, drunk with success and sick with ambition. This is what happened to the ancient Athens, which lust for faraway island of Sicily and ended up losing its empire. So sometimes you can be so hungry for war or so hungry to try to make yourself a name that you will lose yourself or lose the things that are really important in the process, reflection, and you won't even realize it till it's all gone. Okay, so let's keep it going. Let's talk about the Rothschild family. All right, let me tell you a story about the Rothschilds family. We're talking about the 48 Laws of Power, reflection. This is where we're getting our source from. If you do not have this copy, don't worry about it. Taretha is going to break it down for you. Okay, so we're on Law 23. The Rothschild banking family had humble beginnings in the Jewish ghetto of the Frankfurt, Germany. The city's harsh laws made it impossible for the Jews to mingle outside the ghetto, but the Jews had turned into a virtue. It made them self-reliant and zealous to preserve their culture at all costs. Mayors, which was the first of the Rothschilds to accumulate wealth by lending money in the late 18th century, well understood the power that comes from the kind of concentration. First, Myers Armscale allied himself with one family, the powerful princes of Thorn and Thaxis. Instead of spreading his services out, he made himself the prince's primary banker. So instead of giving it to this person, he said, I'm going to get this one family that's full of power and I'm going to be their main banker. Okay, let's keep it going. It says, second, he entrusted none of his business to outsiders, using only his children and close relatives. So he kept a very knit circle. The more unified and tight-knit the family, the more powerful it would become. So the closer you keep your circle, the more powerful it will become. Soon, Meyer Armschild's 5 sons were running the business. And when Meyer Armschild's lay dying in 1812, he refused to name a principal heir, instead of setting up all his sons to continue the family tradition. So instead of, you know how in most families they would leave everything to one person, he ended up splitting it all between the sons so they all had equal power, reflection. Okay, let's keep it going. It says, soon, Meyer Armschild's 5 sons were running the family business. And when Meyer Armschild's lay dying in 1812, he refused to name a principal heir. Instead, he left it all to his sons to continue the family tradition so that they would stay united and stay resistant of the dangers of diffusion and infiltration by outsiders. So he was thinking long terms, okay? So he said, if I just leave it all to my sons, they won't be infiltrated by outsiders because I've already instilled in them how hard I've worked for this or whatever my agenda is behind this particular business. It says, once Myers Armschild's son controlled the family business, they decided the key of wealth on a larger scale was to secure a foothold in the finances of Europe as a whole, rather than being tied to any one country or prince. Of the 5 brothers, Nathan had already opened up a shop in London. In 1813, James moved to Paris. Armschild remained in Frankfurt. Solomon established himself in Vienna, and Carl, the youngest son, went to Naples. With each sphere of influence covered, they couldn't tighten their hold on Europe's financial markets. This widespread network, of course, opened the Rothschilds to very danger of which their father warned them about: diffusion, division, decisions. They avoided this danger and established themselves as the most powerful force in European finances and politics by once again resorting to the strategy of the ghetto, excluding outsiders. Okay, so that they felt like if they kept everything close within the family, they didn't bring any outsiders, then they couldn't be infiltrated. They would always stay in power. Okay, reflection. The Rothschilds established the fastest conveyor system in Europe. a courier system in Europe, allowing them to get news of events before all of their competition. So they knew what was going on before anyone. Reflection. They held a virtual monopoly of information, and their internal communications and correspondence was written in Frankfurt Yiddish, and it was in a code that only the brothers could decipher. So they had their own language. Reflection. So only those five brothers could sent, like if they sent each other a message, no, unless you were the brothers, you couldn't interpret the message. This is okay. It's the method behind this madness. Reflection. Okay, this is how they established themselves as this is one reason how they established themselves one of the fastest courier systems in Europe. Okay, they kept it all in the family and in code that the only brothers could decipher. There was no point in stealing this information. So if somebody stole it, it wouldn't matter because you couldn't read it, you couldn't understand it, you couldn't interpret it. Okay. It says there was no point in stealing this information. No one could understand it. Even the shrewdest bankers could not find their way through the Rothschild's maze. Okay, admitting a financier who had tried to infiltrate the clan. So they had plenty of people try to get in the circle. Reflection, but they could not seem to infiltrate this particular family. Okay, this is in 1824. James Rothschild decided it was time to get married. This presented a problem for the Rothschilds since it meant incorporating an outsider into the Rothschilds clan. And remember, they don't want any outsiders. Reflection. So what do you do about that? Let's talk about it. An outsider who could betray its secrets, James therefore decided to marry within the family, okay, and chose the daughter of his brother Solomon, which would be his niece. The brothers were ecstatic. This was the perfect solution to their marriage problems. James' choice now became the family policy. So this is a policy within their family. They marry within the family, so they know for sure no outsider can infiltrate what they have going on. Reflection, because it's literally a code within the family. 2 years later, Nathan married off his daughter to Solomon's son. In the years to come, the five brothers arranged 18 matches among their children. No, excuse me, reflection. That was not his niece. That was his cousin. That was his first cousin, because those are brothers, okay? So that is like brothers' children. Okay, so it says, in the years to come, the five brothers arranged 18 matches among their own children. 16 of these being contracted between 5 first cousins. 16 of these were being contracted between first cousins. So out of 18 of the arranged marriages, 16 of them were first cousins. Okay. It says, we are like the mechanism of a watch. Each part is essential, said Brother Solomon. As in a watch, every part of the business moved in concert with another. They feel, you get what I'm saying? It's almost like a clock. If one part off in the clock, the whole clock messed up. Reflection. Okay, let's keep it going. It says, as in a watch, every part of the business is moved in a concert in every other. And the inner workings were invisible to the world. Most people look at a clock, they don't know how the clock actually is working. They just know it's working and it's telling the time. It's giving them what they need at the time, okay? They're not looking at what's really going on inside, okay? So let's keep it going, reflection. It says, no one respects this better than James Rothschild, the son who established himself in Paris. In his lifetime, James witnessed the defeat of Napoleon, the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy, and the defeats of New Orleans, return to the Republic, and finally the inthorth of Napoleon III. Okay, the best strategy is always to be very strong, first in general, then at a decisive point. There is no higher and simpler law of strategy than that of keeping one's forces concentrated. Okay, in short, the first principle is act with the utmost concentration. Okay, so what does that mean? Power itself always exists in the concentrated forms. In any organization, it is inevitable for a small group to hold strings. Often, it is not those with the titles. In the game of power, only fools flails about with being fixing in his target. You must find out who controls the operation. Who is the real director behind the scenes? Because the person you usually see in the front usually is the person that's really pulling the strings. Reflection. Okay. I didn't want to make this video too long. Reflection. So with that being said, we are over here talking about the 48 laws of power. We talked about law 22, which is use the surrender tactic. Okay, transform your weakness into your power. And we also came over here to talk about law 23, concentrate your forces, which means always keep a small circle. Okay, so with that being said, reflection, you are over here with Taretha at the Night School. We are over here talking about the 48 laws of power. Join us tomorrow for another session. We're gonna finish. We're gonna do 24 and 25. So with that being said, reflection, Ashe.